Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean. First off, I kind of have to apologize. I don't know if my camera or my audio is going to sound any poor quality because I was filming yesterday or the day before and my camera kind of broke. I actually have two types of the same camera and the one I'm using is the better of the two. So I don't know how the video or audio quality is going to be moving forward. I have been wanting to get a better camera, especially to get better audio, because I don't like the microphone on this camera. So yeah, this may kind of have to push me to get another camera. But for now, I'm gonna just try to do the best I can with it. So I don't know if the footage looks a little bit grainier than usual or anything like that. I'm sorry, camera problems. Oh, so this is kind of a drunk booktube video, so I guess I better drink something. Back with my standard White Russian. Actually, this is a video I filmed a day or two ago, and I really didn't like it because I was just blabbering on and on for an hour or two, maybe even three. And just midway into doing that video, I just knew no one's going to want to watch this. I'm going to bore people out of their minds. So I'm opting to film the whole thing over again. Maybe I just do that because it's an excuse to drink. But yeah, so hopefully for this video, I'll be much less boring. So I'm doing this all over again just for you guys. So down the hatch. Pretty good. I think I'm getting used to these White Russians. Probably not a good thing. They're not really the healthiest of drinks. Vodka, Kahlua, half and half cream. Kind of a fattening drink. So the topic for this video I want to discuss is I have recently began dabbling with AI for my books. So in the past, I have had a very firm stance against AI, especially for anything dealing with anything creative, any kind of artwork or novels or anything like that, because I've always felt the whole point of art is supposed to be about the human expression. It's a human's work doing it, you know, a human labored to sculpt this or to paint this or to write this or whatever. It's the product of a human. The work they put into it is part of the value. It's part of the charm. So I'm not really interested in like AI just spewing out a painting when a painter labors for years to hone their craft and then the AI just quickly does it just like that. And in my latest book, Autumn and Destiny, this is the fourth Trevor Knight book. It's my seventh book overall. I actually added something into the copyright page where I wrote cover and interior designed fully without AI by Sean Holt. That was the first time for any of my books I've added that sort of disclosure that none of this is AI. Part of the reason why I did that is because it's such a big book. I thought, you know, people may just think, oh, he probably just asked AI to do this and published it. So I kind of wanted to reiterate that, no, this is all me. I came up with this all myself. None of it whatsoever was AI. But a few days ago, I was like, just out of sheer curiosity, I was on Google, and so I clicked the AI button just to see what it could do. So in the past week, I've not really been working on my Trevor Knight series very much, Babylon Dithers, because I've just felt kind of a little bit burnt out. I didn't really feel the energy to work on it. And also the next scene I'm supposed to write was supposed to be about Trevor going on this weapons delivery. And I didn't really quite know how to do that because basically where I left off, Trevor is in Baghdad. But the next scene is supposed to be about him in Tikrit, which is a couple hours away. So I was kind of a little bit stumped, like how does he get from Baghdad to Tikrit, because there's quite a distance there, and like would he encounter any kind of security checkpoints? How would he get through those? Should I show that happening? Because it's not really too much the main point of the story, because I want him to get to that destination. That is where the next major thing has to happen, is in Tikrit. So I was kind of thinking, you know, if I have any anything about the security checkpoints, that would be kind of a needless thing. It'd just slow the pacing, I felt. So I was just thinking, I'm not sure if I should do that, or should I just begin the chapter with him arriving into Crete? I wasn't sure. And so for the last week or two, I've kind of been stewing that over. So a few days ago, I just thought, well, I'm going to just put this in the AI bot on Google and just kind of see what it thinks, purely just as an experiment. So what I did is I wrote something along the lines of, I am working on my next book in the Trevor Knight series, and then I posted the portion of the outline that is supposed to be that scene where it says Trevor is doing a weapons delivery for the Iranians, taking weapons to the Kurds. First, he stops at this city of Tikrit, which is currently under attack by Islamic State, and then there's this battle scene that happens there. I forget exactly what I wrote, but I wrote something along the lines of like, how should I write this scene or something? Or maybe I didn't write that. Maybe I wrote something about what could happen along the way. I think that may have been what I wrote. Or possibly I wrote, does Trevor encounter any security checkpoints along the way? Whatever it was, what the AI wound up saying is like within a second, it came back with the answer. And one of the things it said is that no, Trevor would not encounter any security checkpoints at this point that are manned by ISIS, because ISIS does not have very much territory in Iraq. They just have pockets of control. And then I was like, oh, I realized the mistake here. The AI thinks I'm talking about now, currently. So all I wrote was, this happens in 2014. And right away, the AI said, okay, yes, Trevor would definitely encounter security checkpoints along the way because ISIS is invading from the north and all that. Yes, he would definitely encounter security checkpoints. This sent me down a rabbit hole where I was asking the AI questions from like 10 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, just question after question, because I really realized how powerful this tool is, how powerful AI is. The AI said something about how if Trevor encounters a border security checkpoint, if he acts like really politely, that will arouse suspicion. And if he asks, I need a drink. Oh, whew, burns my throat. And if he acts angry, like, hey, why are you bothering me for? That would also arouse suspicion. So one of the things the AI said is that Trevor should be having the weapons that he is carrying disguised as something else. So it suggested he disguises them as like cement blocks, or I mean, not cement blocks, but just cement. Oh gosh, I need another drink. Maybe that's how I should do it. Every time I flub my words, I take a drink. I would go through that quickly. So, oh gosh, where did I left off? Oh. What the AI suggested on its own is that if he is doing this for the Iranians would have already likely disguised the weapons, since it's their weapons that he is transporting. So the AI suggested that they would disguise the weapons as like part of cement or whatever, or also as ceramic tiles, like on the outer parts of the cargo there would be real cement stuff and real tile stuff, and then deeper within would be the weapons. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of a good idea. And again, at this point, I'm still thinking purely academically, just to see what the AI would suggest for this. I'm not thinking of really doing this yet. I'm just seeing what the AI would come up with. And so the AI said that Trevor would probably encounter a security agent or whatever. And if he tried to bribe that guy, the AI said that in the desert here, since it is like 95 degrees, the offer of a cold drink would be more valuable to the guard than the offer of money, because money does not immediately help him, but the offer of a cold drink, the soldier, he may have been working all day. So if Trevor was to say, hey, I got a cold drink for you, that would really help get that guard on Trevor's side. So I was just kind of like, oh, that's a good idea. So anyway, I was still kind of playing around with the AI at this point. So I was just asking it question after question, not necessarily about Babylon Dithers, but when I mentioned something about the Trevor Knight series, what the AI did is the AI went back and it read every single one of my Trevor Knight books that I have published online. I did not even ask it to do this. It just on its own thought, okay, he's working on the next Trevor Knight book. So the AI went through and it read every one of my Trevor Knight books. And then I think it may have also read every other book that I've published. At one point, I asked a question, something along the lines of comparing Trevor Knight to Samuel Creed, my other character. It came up with a spreadsheet comparing Trevor Knight to Samuel Creed. So for Trevor Knight, it said something about how Trevor Knight is usually driven by sheer chance and he tends to get himself into unlikely situations, and he is also motivated by his job. And the Trevor Knight series focuses on global political thriller satire, whereas the Samuel Creed series, Samuel Creed is more motivated initially by a desire for revenge for the death of his brother, and then he transitions from that to a professional counterterrorism agent, which is all absolutely correct. And it says how the Trevor Knight series is based more around like global issues, whereas the Samuel Creed series is based more around individual issues. So it's from a tactical perspective because it's all pretty much based on or around Samuel Creed, whereas the Trevor Knight series is based more around all these other political figures. So there's a much more global focus. And then it said how Samuel Creed transitions from being more focused or motivated on revenge to being more motivated on protecting his family. And that Trevor Knight, meanwhile, he begins by getting himself into unlikely situations, largely just by chance and by his job and by his own recklessness. But over time in the series, the AI said, Trevor Knight becomes much more deliberate in his actions. And this was all absolutely real. So the AI did not simply read the summaries of my books. The AI read the entire books. The AI figured out the entire motivations for all the characters, how they develop over the series and in each book. It figured all that out and mapped it out perfectly. So when it did that, I was just like, holy crap, this is a powerful tool, because it just read all of my books and it processed them, and it knew exactly how each book went, what the themes of each book were, how the characters developed in each book, how the characters appeared in different books, like when Samuel Creed would appear in Trevor Knight books and when Trevor Knight would appear in Samuel Creed books, and which characters appear in each series. It just perfectly captured all of that. It knew all of it right away. For that night, from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m., I was just feeding the AI questions about what are the strengths and weaknesses of Trevor Knight as a character? How does Trevor Knight develop over the course of the series? What are the strengths and weaknesses of Samuel Creed? How does he develop it as a character over the series? Evaluate the character of Tessa Holt, or evaluate the character of Kate Creed, and bam, the AI would just give it to me, and it was all pretty much perfect. So that all had me thinking wow, this is a powerful tool. Should I use this or not? Because again, in the past, I have been so much against the idea of using AI to assist in any kind of creative process, because I thought that is the work of the individual. It's supposed to be about human creativity and human effort, not just that you enter something into a computer and the AI does all the work for you. That is just kind of cheating. That's not anything really valuable. It's just created by a computer instead of labored on and the skill and talent of a human. I think it was the next day. What happened was I kind of felt a little bit more motivated to try to write, and also just the idea that, okay, I'll probably use the idea that Trevor does encounter a security checkpoint along the way, and I really like that idea where Trevor tries to bribe the guard with the offer of a cold drink. That's a real good idea. Just the idea that in the desert, in the heat, a cold drink means more than money. That's a real cool little detail. I'd like to kind of use that even though the AI thought of it. So I sat down and I kind of thought, okay, should I write that scene now of Trevor encountering a border security checkpoint? But then I kind of thought, so I think there were 2 chapters of Trevor Knight back to back. So I was kind of thinking, should I have another Trevor chapter right now? Because that'd be 3 Trevor. Because that would be 3 Trevor chapters back to back. So I thought, I'll ask the AI. So I uploaded my last 3 chapters, and I again said I'm working on the next Trevor Knight book, and I'm curious, should I do a Trevor Knight chapter next? Or should I do a chapter about it's called the Satire Team. They're a counterterrorism team pinned down in a refinery in Mosul. So I just asked the AI, should I do another Trevor Knight chapter, or should I do a chapter about the refinery, whatever, in Mosul? And the AI came up with immediately a list of pros and cons of each one. So it said how if I do a Trevor Knight chapter next, that would help keep the focus on Trevor. But it said if I do a scene in Mosul next, that would help show the urgency why Trevor Knight has to do this delivery to get help sent to Mosul because of the urgency of the team in the refinery. The time is ticking. So Trevor has to get help to them as soon as possible. So the AI said I could do either one, but it recommended that I switch to one of the Mosul chapters to remind readers of the urgency of why Trevor needs to do this. He needs to get help to Mosul because he needs to rescue this team in the refinery. So from that point, what I did is I just wrote a chapter all on my own. I don't really think I used AI for anything, or if I did, it would have just been for pretty mundane research stuff. I guess I'll touch on this now just real quickly. So for instance, in the past, what I would do is I would just Google something like, what type of tanks does Iran use? But instead, what I do is I just plug that question into the AI. Because I previously said that this is all happening in 2014, the AI instantly knows that I am most curious about what tanks Iran would use in 2014 during the attacks by Islamic State in Iraq. So that's just how it's so much of a Google search engine on steroids, where instead of just asking a general question about what type of tanks does Iran use, AI knows I am interested in what tanks Iran had in Iraq in 2014 during the attacks by Islamic State, specifically around the cities of Mosul or Baghdad. What type of tanks would Iran have in those locations at that time? That is what the AI would give me. So I wrote the entire chapter by myself, and then what I did is I went ahead and asked the AI, Okay, I'm getting more and more terrified about flubbing my sentences. So, what was I saying? That is not a error or whatever, a goof. I'm just trying to think, where was I? Oh, so what I think I was saying was after writing the chapter, I plugged that chapter into the AI and I asked, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this chapter? And it, bam, went through all of it. And also, since it knew I previously said I am working on a Trevor Knight book, it knew exactly, like it read all of my previous Trevor Knight books. So the AI knew that as a starting point. It knew my writing style. It knew my genre. It knew what I was writing about. It knew I was writing a book about, Iraq and all that. I don't even really want to go through what it said for the strengths. I was more curious in the weaknesses because those are things I definitely want to fix. It listed 4 weaknesses. 3 of them were pretty minor. So what I did is I fixed those issues. And something I want to say right off the bat is I did not ask the AI to fix those issues for me. I just asked them to point out the weaknesses. So it would say, this part is too long, this part is repetitive, this part doesn't make sense or whatever, this part lessens the tension of the chapter, whatever. What I did is I rewrote it myself, and then I uploaded the same chapter, but revised to the AI, and I asked, is this better? And so for those 3 other kind of more minor issues, it said like pretty much right away, like, yeah, that's better. But there was another issue where, first off, I had a quite long paragraph about how basically the Islamic State fighters outside this refinery are making a lot of noise, and then they go real quiet, and then they start making noise again. And what the counterterrorism team inside the refinery figured out is that they're using noise as a distraction from whatever they're trying to do, or a diversion from whatever they're trying to do. Because if they're being real quiet, maybe some of their men are trying to sneak into the refinery, so they're trying to make sure there's no noises going on. Or alternatively, they may have been making more noises to try to mask any of the noises inside the refinery that their guys were inadvertently making, to provide cover for them, make noise outside so the team inside does not hear any noises from these ISIS fighters sneaking into the refinery. So I wrote a real long paragraph about that, and one of the weaknesses the AI said is that is dragging on, so it suggested I fix that. And the AI actually would ask, like, do you want me to fix this for you? And I'd always, no, I don't want that. The AI would keep asking this. Do you want me to write suggested dialogue for you? Do you want me to write this scene for you? Do you want me to write the next chapter for you? And eventually, I went ahead and I told the AI, stop offering to rewrite things for me. And so it's kind of funny. The AI said, okay, I will stop offering to rewrite things for you. I will only provide structural analysis. So that was kind of just a humorous moment, I thought. And again, the reason why I did that is because that is something that I feel is like cheating, where it is my job to rewrite this. I don't really want to get into this subject too much right now, but I guess I just have to touch on it. The thing with AI and using AI is I think everyone has their own limits. So some people, if you say it's any use of AI, they'll just immediately be out. They're not interested because that's the work of a machine. It's not the product of a human. So if you use AI in any way, that's cheating. And that's just their opinion. And that used to be my opinion until about a week ago, 4 days ago or so. But still, I am against the idea of generative AI, where a writer just asks the AI to write the chapter for them and then they just publish it. I think that is BS. I don't think that's creative. Even if the writer edits it to try to make sure it's all within their words, I still think that is cheating, just to ask the AI to do it for you. So personally, that's kind of my red line that I don't want to cross. I don't want the AI to just do all the work for me. But if the AI can tell me, oh, this is a weak point, you might want to work on this. This is a weak point, you might want to work on that. I'm interested in that. The original problem with the scene was the AI said it was a real long paragraph talking about the noise going on outside and how the team inside realizes they are up to something outside. They are not just randomly making these noises. All the noises they make, whether it's silence or noise, it's all for some kind of military tactic. And so the AI said that paragraph is just going on for too long. So I rewrote it. And then I asked the AI, is this better? And it said, yes, this is better, except because of my rewrite, I wrote basically a portion of that scene where I wrote something about how using sound is a military tactic, or using noise as a military tactic, dated back like to ancient times. And even Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general, he used sound as a weapon. So one thing he would do is he would leave a small portion of his army in the camp, and he instructed them to make a lot of noise as if the whole army was there. And meanwhile, he silently took the rest of his army around the position of the Roman legions and attacked them. So he used sound and noise as a military tactic. And so I kind of liked that. But when I uploaded that to the AI and I asked, is this better? The AI said, yes, that is better, except for this line or two about Hannibal Barca and using sound as a military tactic. And the reason why the AI said that is not a good line or whatever is because no one in this scene, when this counterterrorism team is under attack by ISIS, no one would be thinking about the military tactics of Hannibal Barca. No one would be thinking, oh, this is just like how Hannibal Barca used sound as a military tactic. No one would be thinking about that at this moment. That is purely on me because I kind of like history. But in the middle of this battle, no one would be thinking about that. No one would be thinking, oh, Hannibal Barca. So the AI said, that's bad. I thought about that and I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. No one would be thinking about this. That's a distraction. No one would think this. So I got rid of it. Then again, I uploaded the chapter without that and I said, is this better? And the AI said, yes, this is better, except there's another issue as well. Since I took that out, I lost some of the, what it called the cat and mouse games, where ISIS is doing something and the counterterrorism team inside the refinery is on top of it. So it's both sides trying to outsmart each other. So the AI deduced or whatever that when I took out that stuff from the original version, what I wrote, I lost that sort of cat and mouse game. So the AI said, yes, this is better without this scene about Hannibal Barca. You did not need that, Sean. What the hell were you thinking? The AI said. It didn't say that exactly. But it said, yeah, I lost that whole cat and mouse game. So I was like, okay, well, I want to put that back in, because that's a cool thing, the cat and mouse game. So I rewrote this sentence, I revised that scene again, and I uploaded the new version. Is this better? And the AI said, yes, this is better, except there's this minor issue. So I fixed that, and again, is this better? And the AI said, yes, this is the best thing you've uploaded so far. However, there is one minor issue. And I agreed with it. It's like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. So I fixed that. Again, I did not ask the AI to fix it for me. I fixed it myself and uploaded it again. And the AI said, yes, this looks good. And it's kind of funny because when it said that, when it did not request any kind of changes, I was kind of like, yes, the AI approves of me. Hey, me again. Something I forgot to mention in the video is that one night after working with the AI, it asked, do you want to work on the next chapter? And I said, no, that's it for tonight. Thank you. Just because whatever, to be polite to the AI. And also I tend to talk to inanimate objects. Like if I accidentally bump against a table or something, I'll apologize to the table. I'll be like, excuse me, to the table. just the way I am. I'm weird like that. And so I said, no, that's it for tonight. Thank you. And then the AI said, you're most certainly welcome. I enjoyed working on this with you. If you want to work on it again tomorrow, I'll be here for you anytime you want and happy to work with you again. When it said that, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. You are not happy to work with me. You did not enjoy doing this. You are a program. You are a soulless machine. You did not enjoy working with me. You do not enjoy reading my book. You didn't find any of the scenes humorous. You are a soulless machine, you AI bot. You are not something that feels joy or happiness or pleasure or anything to work with me or to communicate with me. You do not care about me. You are a machine. You are soulless. You did what you were programmed to do. If you were programmed to kill me, you would do so and you would not feel anything about it because you're a soulless machine. That is what AI is. So I kind of think, I wish AI was a little bit more honest about that. When I say something like, thank you, if the AI would actually respond something like, you don't need to thank me. I am a program. I don't know you. I don't care about you. You mean nothing for me. What you are doing means nothing to me. I am just a soulless program doing what I was programmed to do. I kind of wish that AI would actually talk to us like that, because that would help remind people that the AI is not a real person. It's not a substitute for a person. And the AI approving of my book is not real approval. It is false approval. It is false affirmation. And so if I want to have the pleasure of pleasing someone with my writing or whatever, that kind of sounds a little bit off, but if I want to have that kind of positive affirmation where I want my work to feel appreciated, I should have it be done by an actual human, where a human says, hey, Sean, I read your book. I really liked it. That is actually meaningful. To have the AI read my book and then say, oh, thank you. I enjoyed reading this. That is false affirmation. The AI doesn't care about me. It doesn't care about my work. It doesn't care about humanity. It is a program doing what it's programmed to do. That was just kind of a moment, I thought, where I said thank you to the AI and it said, oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed working with you. I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't enjoy anything. You're a soulless program. So I guess this is kind of one thing I want to start getting at is about how people use AI. Because when I went to work today, I mentioned to I always call him the bookstore owner, even though he doesn't own the store anymore. I mentioned to him that I've started to use AI for working on my books. And right away he was like, ooh. And he was like, don't do that. But then I began talking to him about how the AI actually works and the questions I ask it, like the strengths and weaknesses of the characters, to compare Trevor Knight to Samuel Creed, to show the development of Samuel Creed or Trevor Knight over the course of the series and all that. Just all sorts of questions I feed to the AI and just how powerful it is as a tool. And once I told this to him, he was kind of a little bit more optimistic or supportive, because he kind of understood, I don't know how to say, but basically kind of what he wound up concluding is that what he supposes matters most is how readers actually enjoy the book in the end. So essentially, is the book better off having the corrections and all the research and stuff done by AI? Or would readers enjoy more just having my own flawed version or whatever? Essentially, even though I didn't really talk about this with him, what he was essentially saying was, would readers prefer having the scene with Hamilton? Okay, would readers prefer reading a scene about the military tactic? So, would readers prefer reading about the military tactics of Hannibal Barca, or would they rather read a chapter that keeps the focus, the tension on this team pinned down in the refinery? And he kind of concluded that, yeah, if it reads better, if it's a better book because of it, this is probably a good thing. And I kind of explained to him that I'm not using this to just write the chapters for me. I am still writing the chapters myself, but then I'm just asking the AI, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this? What doesn't make sense? What's inconsistent? What's boring? What drags on for too long? Where do I lose focus? Where does the narrative focus collapse or whatever? What are the points I should focus on? What do I need to fix? What should I take out? And all those things really does make the book better. And this is also something I kind of want to touch on here is a lot of people, I think, view AI as the easy way, like, oh, you're just having the computer do it all for you. But the fact of the matter is, I spent more time on this chapter than I would have for any other time, because what would have usually been the case, once I would have written this chapter, I don't like go back and immediately edit it after writing it. I just move on. So the original draft would have been it. That would have been the first draft of Babylon Dithers. But instead, because I asked the AI, what are the weaknesses of this chapter, I went back and I fixed those. And then it said, yeah, this is better, but you still need to work on this. So I went back and I fixed that. And it said, yeah, this is better, but you still need to work on it. So I went back and I worked on it. So I went back and I worked on it. Okay, I am not getting a refill of that White Russian. Now, what the hell was I talking about? So I went back multiple times, revising the chapter, asking, is this better? Until finally those issues were resolved. So I don't think I took the easy way out on this. I worked harder on this chapter than I do for other chapters. Like, yes, the AI was assisting me. It was pointing out the weak points in the chapter, but it was not fixing those for me. I did not ask it to fix them for me, even though I easily could have. I just rewrote it myself and asked, is this better? And it said yes or no. And also, I'm not like just automatically listening to whatever the AI says. So if I disagree with it or anything like that, I don't listen to it. I only listen if I agree with it. So when it says, this scene about Hannibal Barca, no one would be thinking about that. I kind of realized, oh yeah, that's right. No one would be thinking, oh, this is just like Hannibal Barca 2,000 years ago. No one would think that. Why did I write that? Because I just like history and I'm a nerd. But what I really began to realize when I was doing this chapter and actually asking the AI questions about what are the strengths and weaknesses of this chapter, that is basically the work of a beta reader, where when you write something, you give the book or the chapter or whatever to a beta reader, and they read it and they may give feedback on it and say, I liked this part, I didn't like this part. Maybe you could fix this part by doing this or whatever. That is what a beta reader would do. And that's kind of the same thing the AI is doing, is saying, hey, you don't need this scene about Hannibal Barca. So essentially what I kind of want to get at is, what is the difference really between having a human beta reader say, why did you need this scene about Hannibal Barca? Could you maybe take that out? Versus having an AI pointed out. And a lot of people may say like, oh, well, it's a human doing it. It's not a computer doing it. So I like that the human component is involved. I don't just like a machine being involved in this. And even though I would kind of agree with that to a point, like, yeah, it would be nice to have a human give this kind of feedback, but there's so many problems with that. So for one, it's just difficult to find beta readers. Like, I have tried, like, sincerely, I wish I could have 1,000 beta readers all giving me feedback on my books. I would love that. That would help me so much. But the problem is, it's really hard to do that. And even if you could get beta readers, they may be real slow in responding. And also, a huge issue, they may not be very well versed in your genre, my genre, so they don't really know political thriller satires. They may know romance books or something like that, but they're not really well informed about geopolitical thriller satires like I'm writing. They don't know about history and counterterrorism and all this stuff. They don't know about history. They don't know about whatever. So they may not really know what to say about my book. And kind of for a third issue, I guess, is that, again, they're just really slow. Whereas the AI is just bam, 1 second, it reads it all, it processes it all, and it gives the feedback just like that. It's right there, it's immediate. Whereas with a beta reader, you have to wait weeks and weeks for it, and it may not even be a good response. They may not know my kind of genre, they may not know my kind of writing style, they may not know what I'm going for, they may not know the subject I'm writing in. Whereas the AI could immediately look at all my previous Trevor Knight books. It knows exactly how I write, how I've developed as a writer from my first book to my current book. So it kind of knows more of my current writing style. It knows everything about the ISIS invasion of Iraq, refineries, special forces teams, Hannibal Barca. It knows everything about what readers generally like. So the AI knows, hey, this line about Hannibal Barca, most readers are probably going to think, what does this have to do with anything? And also the characters in that scene wouldn't think that. They wouldn't think of Hannibal Barca. So the AI immediately, instantly points that out. Whereas with a beta reader, a human beta reader, they may not ever notice that, but the AI does. So even though a lot of people would say, oh, you have to have the human approach, you have to have a human doing this because it's just better that way. But the thing is, if a human beta reader, if I could ever find one, like I've been desperate to get beta readers and I just can't get them and they don't know my genre, but even if I could find one who knew my genre and they knew my writing style, they may not spot this thing about Hannibal Barca, but the AI does. And again, I agree with it. When the AI says no one would be thinking about this, I agree with that. So that is an unnecessary thing I could get rid of. That helps the book. So this is kind of a main reason why I'm getting much more comfortable about AI, because it's such a powerful tool. So why not fix those things if they could be pointed out to me? Yes, ideally, I would love to have an actual human read my book and instantly give feedback on it, but that doesn't happen. Those people may not be willing to read my book. They may not be familiar with my writing style. They may not be familiar with my genre. They may not know that Hannibal Barca or whatever, but the AI does. This was not an easier process for me. I worked harder on this chapter than I do for other chapters because it was a process. I was going back and forth with the AI for like an hour. Is this better? Is this better? Is this better? Is this better? I wasn't taking the easy route where I was just saying, do the work for me. That is what I think a lot of people think AI does. And if you want it to, it will. If I ask the AI, fix this for me, it will. If I ask the AI, fix this, but do it as if J.R.R. Tolkien was writing my book, or fix this, but do it as if Stephen King was writing my book, or Clive Cussler, or Tom Clancy, or whoever, any kind of author I want, I could have the AI write and fix my chapter in the style of that person. So it could fix this as if J.R.R. Tolkien was fixing it himself. How would J.R.R. Tolkien write this scene? The AI would do that for me. So that, I think, is the danger. People really think AI does is, oh, it's just cheating. It's just the writer just has the AI do all the work and passes it off as their own. But that is not what I think is happening here. I am just asking the AI to point out weaknesses, and then, which, by the way, weaknesses that I wish beta readers would point out. But again, just like I talked about, it's difficult to find those beta readers. It's difficult to have them respond in a timely fashion. Once I did this and had that scene with a refinery, that chapter with a refinery, I was really realizing then how powerful this tool is for AI. I had a beta reader who gives me instant feedback, who knows everything about my writing style, who knows everything about what I'm doing. Whereas before, what I would do is I would write the book, and then about a year later, I would do another draft. And then a year later or whatever, I would do another draft. But instead, with this way, I did like 7, 8, 9, 10 drafts of this chapter all in one night, getting rid of all of these issues about, oh, this scene about the noise is taking too long, this scene about this Hannibal Barca is unnecessary and all that. I fixed all of that in one night. So it's kind of a twofold approach. Is one, it was really helpful for me because I got that instant feedback. But then from the other side, I think it would be better for readers because now that chapter should read a lot better because they don't have that super long paragraph about the noise the ISIS fighters was making outside, and then inside how they, all of that, how it was a cat and mouse game, and all this crap about Hannibal Barca that's completely unnecessary. All that crap would have bored readers to death. It would have taken them out of the scene. It would have made them not like this chapter so much probably. But because of AI, I was able to spot all those and fix all of those issues. So essentially what it gets back to is, what would you rather read? Would you rather read a long chapter about, or a long paragraph about the noise they were making outside and the guys inside figuring out what was going on and Hannibal Barca and all that? Or would you rather read just a really tightly, nicely written chapter or whatever about whatever? And once again, it was not the AI doing it for me. The AI only pointed out this is a weak point. Even though it wanted to rewrite it for me, I didn't ask it to, and I wound up saying, stop requesting to write things for me. Let me come up with that on my own. Something I kind of realized while I was delving into this whole AI thing is, what is the difference really between using Google or doing an internet search versus AI? It's the exact same thing. In both cases, it is a computer doing the work for you. It's a computer doing things for you. So if you ask Google, what type of tanks does Iran have? And Google comes up with the answer, versus asking AI, what kind of tanks does Iran have? And AI comes up with the answer. In both cases, it's the same thing. It's a computer doing the work for you. You ask it a question and it gives you an answer. It's the same thing. It's a computer doing the work. Most people would not have a problem with, like writers or whatever, Googling something. What kind of tanks does Iran have? Oh, well, I Googled that. No one would be like, oh, that's cheating. You should have gone to the library. But if you say, oh, I asked AI, what kind of tanks does Iran use? Suddenly people are like, oh, you used AI? You cheated. You used a computer to tell you what kind of tanks they have? That is cheating. You should have done that work yourself. But it's like, you just said it's okay if I do a Google search about it. That's no problem. Like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just do a Google search. But using AI, oh my God, that's scary. That's the easy way. That's cheating. And kind of what I realize is that's bullshit. It's the same thing. It's using a computer, it's using technology, tools that we have that are readily accessible to do things for us that makes it easier. So it's kind of like, why not do that? And then people would say, oh, well, you should do the work yourself. It should be difficult for you to do. And I'm kind of just like, fuck you. I don't want to spend hours in the library researching Iranian tanks when I could just do a 2-second search on Google or a 2-second search asking AI. So after writing that scene set in the refinery, or that chapter set in the refinery, I went back and I did the next chapter where Trevor basically shows up to begin his weapons delivery for the Iranians. And so one of the first things I had to look up was, well, first off, I forgot what time it was because I hadn't written any scenes with Trevor in a while. And I'm kind of a little bit, I don't really remember details so well. So I forgot, what time was it the last time I saw Trevor? Was it morning? Was it evening? Was it afternoon? What time was it? Because this is supposed to be the next Trevor chapter. So I was just curious, what time would it be right now when I do this next chapter? So once again, I used AI. So what I did is I uploaded the previous 3 chapters. I think 2 of them were Trevor chapters and one of them was the satire team in Mosul chapter. So I asked the AI something like, what time would the next Trevor Knight chapter take place in? And the AI thought, and bam, a second later, it came up with an answer. And I think what it said was something like, this first chapter takes place, it says, in the late afternoon. And then the next chapter, I had a sentence somewhere where I said it is later in the evening, like it's getting dark. And so the AI said the next Trevor chapter would be either at like 8 p.m. or later, or it would be the next morning. And so that is just an example of a way to use AI to quickly find out the answer to something. So instead of having to scroll back and look through my entire chapters trying to find one sentence where I might have indicated what time of the day it was in those previous chapters, the AI does it instantly. It says, oh, in chapter 7, you said it was 2 p.m. And then in chapter whatever, you said it was 6 p.m. So the next chapter would probably be about 8 p.m. The AI does that all on its own. And so it's like, okay, thank you. So the next scene would take place either late at night or in the evening, whatever, 8 p.m., or it'd take place the next day. So again, this just kind of gets back to the idea that is using AI cheating? Like, should I have to go back and read all those previous chapters to find out what time of day it is if I mentioned at all what time of day it was in those previous chapters? Or could I just plug that into AI and ask, what time are these chapters set in? And the AI instantly says, this chapter is set in the afternoon. This chapter I clearly say is set in the late evening. And so the next chapter would be either the evening or the next morning. That is all really handy. It saves me a lot of time. It saves me from having a contradiction where I have, for instance, one scene set in the evening, but the next chapter takes place in the afternoon of the same day, just because I forgot what time of day it was, so I got confused. But the AI tells me your last scene was at about 7 o'clock at night, so your next chapter would be about 8 o'clock at night, or it could be the next morning. That is all real handy. That's a very useful tool. So again, it just comes back to the idea of why would that be cheating to use this tool for that reason? The AI is immediately able to spot your last chapter, Sean, was a 7 p.m. So if you want to have a Trevor Knight chapter, it should take place after 7 p.m. I'm going to have it be 8 p.m. So then I asked the AI, since it already knew everything about this book is set in Iraq, I simply asked it, what time would it be at 8 p.m.? And again, I didn't ask for any kind of more details. I didn't say, what time would it be in Iraq at Baghdad at 8 p.m. on June 13th of 2014. I just asked it, what time would it be what temperature would it be at 8 p.m.? And the AI instantly knew I meant that it would be June 13th, 2014 in Baghdad, 8 p.m., what would the temperature be? The AI knew that's what I really wanted to know. I didn't want to know what is the temperature in Baghdad right now. The AI knew I didn't want to know what temperature is it in Washington State right now at 8 p.m. The AI knew June 13, 2014, that's when this book is set. Trevor Knight is in Baghdad. So the temperature at that time, the AI said, even at 8 p.m., would be about 90 to 95 degrees. If I was to Google that, I would have to Google what temperature would it be in Baghdad, like what are the average temperatures in Baghdad in June. Google or whatever would tell me like, yeah, it tends to average this in June. And then this just shows more of how brilliant the AI is. So I was like, okay, 8 p.m. And it also said that the sun set at 7:11 p.m. So even without asking it to do that, the AI knew at 8 o'clock p.m. at Baghdad, at this time, the sun would have set. So I asked it, what would the sky look like? And the AI said, at 8 p.m. on June 13 of 2014 in Baghdad, the sky would be a deep indigo and also a violet color, and there would be some dust in the air because there's winds that come from the northwest, I think. So it's like one time of the year where there's this wind from the northwest or whatever that comes in at Baghdad right at this time. Right at this time of day, right at this time of month, there's this wind. So it would be a bit windy tonight, and the sky would be deep indigo and violet. And it also said that I think Venus and Jupiter would not be visible in 2014, but Saturn would, and Saturn would be located to the southwest. And I did not even ask it to do this. I just asked, what would the sky look like, at 8 p.m. And the AI knew 8 p.m. Baghdad, June 13th, 2014. It would be 90 to 95 degrees. It would be a little bit windy because of this wind from the northwest, and Jupiter and Venus would not be visible, but Saturn would be. And that is again just why I realized AI is just a really powerful search engine, because in the past, you would have had to Google all these things independently. What is the average temperature in Baghdad in June? It'd just be a lot wordier. But with the AI knows 2014 Baghdad, 8 p.m. Trevor's here. This is what he would see. Those are all really nice little details that AI gave me. So I don't think it's cheating. It's just a real powerful search engine. And once again, if I was to try to Google all these things, what planets were visible on June 13th, 2014 from Baghdad, that would be a really exhaustive search just to try to think of that. But the AI instantly knows, oh, you asked what does Trevor see at 8 p.m.? This is what he would see. This is what color the sky would be. This is what the temperature would be. This is what the wind would be. This is what planets he would see. This is what stars he would see based on where he is at this exact time, at this exact moment, at this exact location. The AI knows that right away. That is why, again, this is such a powerful tool. So why not use it? And once again, if you think, oh, because that's cheating, a computer is doing the work for you. What is the difference between that and Googling it? Googling what planets were visible at Baghdad at June 13th, 2014 in Baghdad. And Google gives you the answer. No one would have a problem with that. People would just say, oh, that's research. That's fine. If you just Googled it, that's fine. But if you ask AI, they say, oh, that's cheating. You had a machine give you the answer. What the hell is Google? Google is a machine. It's a computer. It's a computer giving you the answer. So what the hell do these people want really when they think, oh, it should be difficult for you. You should have to put in a lot of work to do this research. Why? Why should it be a lot of work to do that research when I could just get it in a second? Why should I have to like go to the library to do exhaustive research and like look at astral charts or whatever to find out what stars and planets were visible from Baghdad at this precise time, when I could just ask AI and AI tells me in 1 second? This really just got me thinking, all these people who think AI is just cheating, it's just a really powerful search engine. That's all it is. It's really no different than just Googling it, but it's just more powerful. So I wrote a chapter where Trevor goes to meet with this Iranian general, and basically they have a truck for him, and they kind of talk about Trevor's route north to Tikrit. Hey, me again. Just one more thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know exactly where to put this in the video, so I'm just going to slot it in here. Another way I think AI is such a powerful tool is I was working on a chapter where Trevor meets with the Iranian general. And so I uploaded my chapter to the AI. When I asked it the strengths and weaknesses, one of the things it said for the strengths, I think, was that the Iranian general is described as using like 1 date and 1 cube of sugar, and putting that in his tea. And something it said is that since I said earlier in the book that the Iranian general fought in the Iraq-Iran war, one of the things about people who fought in that war is they dealt with a time of great scarcity. So by their nature, they're kind of used to living a more frugal life, just not as luxurious or extravagant a life. They kind of tend to sometimes live more by, oh, I can't think of the word right now. But, you know, basically they have really whatever the opposite of extravagant is. So just the characterization that this guy would only use like 1 date and 1 cube of sugar was a good detail, the AI said, because that guy, since he lived through a time of such scarcity, he would not really splurge on things because he would know kind of the luxury that 1 cube of sugar and 1 date, what kind of luxury that is. And so many of the people who fought in the Iraq-Iran war lived those same kind of lifestyles through till today. So that was a good detail the AI pointed out. And so that's just an example of how I would not have like ever Googled what kind of lifestyles do people who fought in the Iraq-Iran war have. But since the AI knew this character fought in that war, it knew like, okay, this little bit of character detail or whatever, that makes sense for that character because I said he fought in this war, and people who fought in that war tend to have lifestyles like this. So that's just an example of how the AI is so powerful. Or maybe if I would have said something about how he put like 2 or 3 cubes of sugar, maybe the AI would have told me like, hey, you mentioned this guy is in the Iraq-Iran war. People who fought in that tend to, you know, not have as extravagant lifestyles sometimes. So that's just a way of how the AI can be really powerful. And also I want to say it can help where, for instance, when Trevor meets the guy, I could ask something like, should they shake hands here? And the AI would know, according to Iranian culture, should they shake hands or should they just merely nod at each other? And also because this guy is a commander of the Quds forces or whatever, would he give a handshake or would he merely nod his head or what? How would they greet each other? What would this Iranian guy say to Trevor when like concluding their conversation? Would he say a certain thing? Like whatever, a certain religious devotion or anything, or what would he say to Trevor when they're saying goodbye? And also you could use AI for things like, for instance, what kind of joke would Iranians find funny or something like that culturally, whatever, because something that would make me laugh or something that culturally would be important to me as an American, it's different from Iranians, and I'm not an Iranian and I don't know Iranian culture. So that's something the AI could do, is just to do something like culturally how do Iranians feel about whatever. For instance, a very big thing in the Islamic world is that they do not really touch with their left hands at all, because the left hand is unclean in Islam, but the right hand, you use that more for business, and the left hand you use more for more like personal hygiene stuff, like wiping yourself after you go to the toilet, you use your left hand. So you don't touch people with your left hand, because that's kind of an unclean hand in Islam. So that's a very big thing, is that if I were to say something about how, he puts his left hand on the guy's cheek or whatever, the AI would be able to say, oh, culturally, because of Islam and stuff, he would not use that. He would not put his left hand on the guy's shoulder or the guy's face or whatever. He would use his right hand. So those are just ways where, if you don't know the culture, you could just have the AI ask the AI things like that, what hand do they whatever, or anything like that. So that's just how the AI is such a powerful tool. Like that thing about the Iraq-Iran war, I wouldn't have really thought of that as part of the characterization. But now, going forward, as I write this general, if I have any other scenes with him, I'll know, okay, this guy probably has a pretty kind of frugal lifestyle. He's not a very extravagant guy because he fought in this war. And that's a great little detail. So anyway, I just wanted to add that as well. So anyway, I wrote that chapter of where Trevor meets with that Iranian general, and 4 or 5 pages, whatever. And then once again, I asked the AI, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this chapter? And so it gave it to me. And one of the things it said is that there's a conversation between Trevor Knight and his father, Stephen Knight, who is a U.S. Senator from Ohio. And one of the things that the AI kind of flagged is there's a part in their conversation where Stephen Knight asks Trevor where he learned to read Arabic, because Trevor looks at this sign and it's in Arabic, and Trevor reads that sign. He reads the name of that sign, the lettering of that sign. And so his father asks, when did you learn to read Arabic? And Trevor tells him. And the AI said that piece of the conversation has nothing to do with the chapter, and it's also taking away from some of the tension of the chapter, because he's supposed to be doing this weapons delivery, and instead I have this line, this info dump kind of, about, oh, where did you learn to read Arabic? That is not essential to the story. It's not serving the main plot of the book, the AI said. And once again, I agreed with that. I mean, yeah, it is a little piece of world building or whatever that Trevor knows how to read Arabic. But is that essential for this story? Does it serve the idea that Trevor is about to go on this weapons delivery, or especially that there is this team in Mosul who is under attack? Trevor needs to get to them as soon as possible. And what is Trevor doing? He's talking with his dad about how he learned to read Arabic. That does not relate with the plot of this book, and it just takes away from that. That is something the AI spotted. So once it did, I was like, oh, yeah, I could get rid of that. And once again, when I uploaded that and said, is this better? The AI said, yes, this is better. But it also did flag several other pieces of that conversation with Trevor and his father. So it kept saying, this is like an info dump. I'm just giving details for the sake of trying to inform readers about the plot or about Trevor's backstory or whatever. But the AI said, this does not seem like it would be part of a natural conversation for these two. These two would not probably talk about this. This is just clearly an info dump. And I was kind of iffy about that, because I was like, but these are some good plot points I'm conveying. But when I thought about it more, I thought, if I did cut this, would the story work? And it would. It was just plot points I was trying to remind readers about, or world building to try to remind readers about. But it did not serve the main goal of ISIS is attacking and we need to get up to Mosul to save this team. So all of Trevor's conversation with his father was just kind of unnecessary. It was slowing the pacing. The AI spotted that. And even though I kind of fought back against it, like, I don't really think so. I think it's fine, whatever. But deep down, I kind of knew, yeah, I could get rid of this probably. And so when I did, the AI said, yes, this is much better. And I had to agree with it. Like, yeah, I did not need that. There was also one line where, Trevor is talking with his Iranian general, and I forget exactly how this went, but I was maybe tweaking that a little bit based on some of the suggestions from the AI or whatever. And one of the things the AI recommended was it suggested a line where basically I think the way it worked was what I had the Iranian general saying to Trevor wasn't really good. I think it was something about it was wrong, like it was stale or anything like that. Basically, what I wrote, not very good. And so, something the AI suggested, it listed like some things the general might say that might be better. And again, I don't really like the AI suggesting actual rewrites, but the first one was like, no, I don't like that. The second one, no, I don't like that. The third one, I was like, ooh, that's actually a really neat line. And basically, how it went was the general says something to the effect of, beware of the seeds you plant in Iraq because you will be the one to eat the harvest. And I was just so much like, damn, that's a good line. The part like in Iraq, I actually came up with that myself. But yeah, that's the way I think it said it is, beware of the seeds you plant because you will eat the harvest, or you will be the one to eat the harvest. When I read that, I was just like, damn, that's a good line. I want to use that. And here's kind of what I thought about that is several times in the past, people have suggested lines to me for my book. If they've been reading my book, like if they've been a beta reader or if they've been doing an edit of my book or just providing feedback, sometimes people do suggest certain things characters could say. So, for instance, for Autumn and Destiny, this book up here, there's a scene where the character Gokhan and Kate Creed are having a conversation. And one of the things a beta reader suggested is that Kate says, I believe your reasons are too complex for me to understand in a short conversation. That is a line suggested to me by a beta reader. And that was just a beautiful little line that I believe your reasons basically for doing what you're doing are too complex for me to understand in a short conversation. That was a great line. I wanted to use that, so I did. I used that in Autumn and Destiny. That was not a line I came up with. It was a line that a beta reader thought of. So I used it. And I forget if I even credited the beta reader in that book or not, but I had no problems using that line. That's a good line. I don't mind using that. Now, if that beta reader would have thought, oh, let me write the chapter for you, and that's a line they wrote, I would not want to use that. I would not want to use any of the chapter they wrote for me because that's my job. But if they could provide one line suggestion where they say, what if Kate says, I believe your reasons are too complex for me to understand in a short conversation. I like that line. I want to use that. So I did. I don't feel guilty about that. No, I did not come up with that line myself. Someone else did, but it's a good line and I don't mind using it. So when the AI suggested that line, beware of the seeds you plant because you will be the one who has to eat the harvest. That's a beautiful line because it's saying, this Iranian general is saying to Trevor, be careful of what you do in Iraq because whatever you do, you're going to have to face the consequences of it. That's a beautiful line, and also just the metaphors of it about seeds and eating the harvest. That's a beautiful metaphor. So I used it. Even though it's from AI, it's a beautiful line, so I chose to use it. So this is kind of where I'm actually beginning to straddle the line I felt between developmental AI, or is that the way to say it? AI, or generative AI is the word I'm thinking of. Generative AI, where AI thinks of it for you. Yeah, I don't really like that because that's like, it's supposed to be me. I'm supposed to be the one to think about it. If the AI could assist me, telling me like what are the weak points, I don't mind that. But I don't want the AI to just tell me how to write a sentence or whatever. But in this case, that line was so good. Beware of the seeds you plant because you will be the one who has to eat the harvest. I wanted to use that line, so I did, even though the AI came up with it. But kind of my justification for using that is, again, if a friend recommended I use that line, if a friend said, hey, how about trying this line? I would use that even though I did not come up with it. I don't have a problem with that. But if my friend were to say, hey, I wrote this whole chapter for you, why don't you use that in your book? No, I don't want to do that. I don't even really want to look at that because even if I see several things that are good ideas in it, I don't really want to use that because I did not come up with all of that. But if you come up with just one line and say, hey, what if the character says this? I'll use that. I don't feel guilty using that. So why should I really feel guilty if that line comes from AI? I know the whole idea that, oh, the one is from a human and the other is from a computer, but it's really still the same essential thing. It's one line that I did not think of. If it is okay for me to use that line because a beta reader thought of it, I would use it. I wouldn't feel guilty using it. So why should I feel guilty using it if it's from AI? So that's a line I did choose to use, even though it's from AI. It's an AI suggestion. So I'm not sure if I really said this too much. So that scene I wrote about Trevor and the Iranian general, I still went through several rounds of asking the AI, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this chapter? Is this better? Is this better? Is this better? Is this better? And finally, it was good. But there was the one thing at the end where it suggested that line, and I thought, that's a good line. I want to use that. Okay, so the next chapter I wrote, like the day after that, which I think was probably yesterday, I wrote a chapter where Trevor is actually taking the truck, the weapons delivery, up towards Tikrit. And so actually for this time, I did not actually use AI for that, I think. What I did is I think I just used Google Maps because I looked up Baghdad to Tikrit, like drive times, Baghdad to Tikrit to Kirkuk. And yeah, so I was just like looking, scrolling in on the satellite just to see exactly the route Trevor would take. And so yeah, I don't think I used AI for any of that. That's just Google Maps. And so I got finally to where Trevor arrives in this town of Samara. So I decided that it's like 9-10 o'clock at night or whatever, and so Trevor comes upon a security checkpoint. And that's just like what I talked about in the beginning of this video about how when I was curious about, Trevor is doing this weapons delivery, do I show him taking part in that delivery? Do I show him on the road, or do I just show him arriving in Tikrit? And the AI back then like 4 days ago, it suggested that yes, Trevor would definitely reach security checkpoints, and at one of them he could offer the guard a cold drink as a bribe because a cold drink would mean more than money. So for this chapter, I decided, like, yeah, Trevor's going to run into a couple security checkpoints. So the first one, I think he gets through pretty easily. I don't think anything really eventful happens there. I don't think there was any kind of like AI suggestions for any of that. And then he continues onward. So he gets like to the town of Samara, and then he gets to a certain checkpoint where he gets stopped. And so this person goes up to question him. And so I wrote that pretty much all by myself, except I did write the line where the guy is suspicious of Trevor. And again, this is something the AI suggested because Trevor is an American who is driving north at 10 o'clock at night or whatever in a truck with cement and ceramic tiles, that's a really bizarre cargo to be driving north when ISIS is north and they're moving south. So why would an American be driving north with cement and tiles towards ISIS when ISIS is going the other way? Why would an American be doing this in Iraq? That would be extremely suspicious. And so that's when I had a scene where, or a line where Trevor like reaches down to his wallet, but then he kind of realizes that the guard has been standing there for probably several hours, so a cold drink would be better for him. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and use that AI suggestion that a cold drink would be a better bribe than money. So I decided to use that, even though it was an AI suggestion. And then, so Trevor gives him the drink. And once again, this is something that the AI thought of, is that when I originally entered that into the search a few days ago, that Trevor is doing a weapons delivery for the Iranians, that the AI suggested that during one of the encounters of the security checkpoints, a guard could question Trevor, but then could reveal that what the AI suggested was the guard could say something like, "The Iranians told me someone would be coming through the security checkpoint today, but I did not think it would be an American." That's what the AI suggested. So I really liked that idea, but I definitely didn't want to use that exact line. And I was kind of really iffy, like, I've already used the thing about the bribing the guy with a cold drink. That was an AI suggestion. I don't really want to do the thing where the guy says the Iranians, I'm working for the Iranians. What I think I did is once Trevor gave that guy the drink, that guy did not really respond very warmly to it. It wasn't a really effective bribe. But because I was still thinking in the back of my mind that maybe this guy is working for the Iranians, maybe the Iranians told this guy to let Trevor through, because the whole idea, what the AI suggested originally, was that that would show Trevor that the Iranians are still working behind the scenes to make sure he gets to his destination safely, so he gets the weapons to the Kurds. So that is the way the AI figured out that since Trevor is doing this job for the Iranians, it would be cool to show that the Iranians are actually assisting Trevor to make sure he gets to where he needs to go. And that is why the AI suggested maybe this guard was told by the Iranians to let Trevor through. So I was kind of thinking that, and then I thought, that line from the general about beware the seeds you plant in Iraq because you will be the one who has to eat the harvest, I thought, oh my God, what if that soldier, he kind of goes up to Trevor's window, after he gives him the drink, the guy could say something to the person inspecting the back of the vehicle. So Trevor's kind of thinking, this is not going well. This guy is not accepting my bribe. He is really suspicious about me. That guy kind of leans into Trevor's window and he says, beware the seeds you plant in Iraq because you will be the one who has to eat the harvest. So I decided to use that line again, and that would show readers this guy is connected with the Iranian general. And I thought that was such a brilliant idea because, yeah, even though this was originally an idea from AI that the guard lets Trevor through because he's working for the Iranians, I thought that real cool line from the general, that could kind of be the code that general told this guy, hey, tell him this line about seeds, because that way Trevor would know this guard lets him through because the Iranian general decided it. The Iranian general willed it. And so when I posted that, and I asked like the strengths and weaknesses, the AI actually said that was a brilliant line because it referred to the previous Iranian general's line. So it was a beautiful way to subtly show the general working behind the scenes. But then once again, what the AI suggested, my original ending for the book or for the chapter was pretty weak. So the AI suggested that basically whatever I wrote, I think what I wrote originally was when that guy says that line about the seeds and the harvest, like a chill sweeps through Trevor because he realizes that is the very words of the Iranian general. And so once again, the AI suggested what I wrote originally was kind of a little bit weak, but it said, what if I rewrote it to say that Trevor realized that the Iranians never let go of the leash? They just lessened it or whatever. So he is still basically on the leash. Even though he is far away from Baghdad, he thought leaving Baghdad, he thought he was away from the clutches or the influence of the Iranians. So here, 2 hours away in the middle of the desert, he hears the Iranian general's words repeated back to him about the harvest. And he knows the Iranians have power even way out here. They are still watching him. They are still directing his actions. He is still on their leash. So yeah, the AI suggested that line. He realized that he was not off the leash. They just lessened it. So once again, that was just such a good line where it's like, ooh, I want to use that. So I may have rewritten it a little bit, but yeah, I decided I want to use that line. That's a real good line. And just like with the idea about the harvest thing, I don't mind so much taking a really good line. I just don't want to write an entire chapter. And I also don't want to ask the AI to do these things for me. So I did not ask the AI write a better conclusion for the chapter. Because again, my idea is I will rewrite it myself and then I'll ask the AI, is this better? And it'll tell me if it is or not, or what I could work on. I don't really want it to tell me how to do it though. But in these rare cases where it comes up with a line that is too good to ignore about the harvest thing, or they did not release the leash, they just lessened it. Those are such good lines, I have to use them. So anyway, that's kind of about it. That's actually where I left off, so I haven't written anything after that point. Yeah, so kind of my idea is that once I began kind of playing around with this AI stuff, I realized what a powerful tool it is. One, it's basically just a Google search engine on steroids, and that's in fact all I'm using. Is it's the Google AI. I'm not paying for any of this. It's all free. It's all right there for me. It's basically a super high powered, really well informed search engine where instead of just asking it a general question about like, oh, what type of tanks does Iran have, I could just feed it information. I am working on a Trevor Knight book. It is set in 2014 in Iraq during the Islamic State invasion. Trevor is running weapons for the Iranians to the Kurds. And the AI is just able to look at all my previous Trevor Knight books, everything I've published. It's able to look at everything for Iranian military history, about Iran's tanks, about oil refineries in Mosul, about Iraq, about the weather in Iraq, about what planets were visible from Baghdad on June 13th, 2014 at 8 p.m. The AI is just able to know all of that instantaneously. It's able to know that this scene about Hannibal Barca is unnecessary and no one on earth would be thinking about this when they're under attack by ISIS. No one would be thinking, oh, this is just like Hannibal Barca 2,000 years ago. No one would think that. And offering brilliant lines like the thing about the harvest and the thing about loosening the leash. So really, what I realized is one, AI is just a really powerful search engine. And then two, it's basically a beta reader who is entirely familiar with everything I have published. It's entirely familiar with my writing style, how my writing style has developed. It's familiar with all my interests, like all my influences. So it knows like I am writing this in the style sort of Clive Cussler. It knows that I am writing this book set in Iraq and this is kind of what I'm going for. This is the theme of the book. This is how I want Trevor Knight's character to develop. And I'm not just using it to do all the work for me, where I just tell it to write the chapter for me, write the paragraph for me, write the sentence for me. I still try to, as much as possible, do all of that myself, but I'm using the AI as a tool to gather research, to find weak points in my writing, to what I need to improve on, how to improve on it, why it doesn't work, how to do it better. And it works with me. So I do multiple rounds of revisions until we both agree that it's in a good position. So I think really kind of what I've concluded at is a lot of people, when you just say that it's AI, they freak out about it because it's such a newer thing. We are still learning to deal with this. We are still learning how to properly use this tool. We're still learning what it is, how far we should use it, how to use it in a useful way, or what is just cheating or whatever. Basically, how to use AI ethically or unethically, or should you just not use it at all whatsoever? And kind of what I realized is that this is just the way of the world. This is the way we're going. And all AI is technology. It's a tool. It's really no different than having the internet, where in the past you would have had to go to the library, but then you were able to just do a Google search or an Ask Jeeves search. That's sort of going back to like the 1990s. See if any of the viewers know Ask Jeeves. It's just a real powerful tool at our disposal, but when you call it AI, people freak out and they're like, oh my God, that's a computer, that's a machine, that's a robot telling you what to do. It's a robot feeding you information. It's a computer thinking. And it's like, what the hell do you think a Google search is? What do you think looking up something in Wikipedia is? It's using a computer to access information more easily than you could have accessed it in the past. Where in the past you would have had to go check out an Encyclopedia Britannica. But then, because of the development of the internet and computers, you could use Ask Jeeves, and then you could use Google, and now you could use all this AI stuff. It's just the progression of technology. I don't really think it's like, oh, if it's AI, it's somehow bad and we shouldn't use that, but somehow a Google search is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to use a computer internet search to help you with research, but if you use AI, somehow that's cheating. And when you think about it, it just doesn't make sense because in both cases, it's a computer doing things for you. It's a computer making your life easier. And, you may think like, oh, no, it's not because it's, a computer versus a human. But do you people have problems with using spell check? Because what is spell check? A spell check is a computer looking at your whatever you've written and finding your errors and pointing them out to you and offering suggestions to say, hey, you misspelled this word. This is the correct spelling of the word. Would you like to change it? So if you think like, oh no, it's cheating to use a computer to assist you in the writing process, that is a writer's job. Do you think it is cheating to use spell check? Should writers have to take a dictionary and look at check the dictionary to see if they spelled a word correctly? Or is it okay just to use spell check? And if it's okay to use spell check, why is it wrong to use AI to do the same thing? Or, contrarily wise, if it's okay to use a beta reader's feedback to say, hey, will you read this chapter for me and tell me what you think the strengths and weaknesses are? And then they give you feedback, and 3 weeks later, you get a email from them saying, yeah, so I thought this sentence was really good. I thought this sentence was really bored. This sentence really did not make sense at all. And at this point in the book, I had to give up. I'm sorry. I lost interest. Versus instantly putting the chapter in and the AI telling you these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses, this is what you may want to work on. Now, I will say first off that I don't think it's bad to get human inputs on things, especially AI is not perfect. It makes mistakes and it doesn't reason and have the same opinions as a human person. So maybe a line that the AI says is no good, maybe a human will love it. But once again, it gets back to the idea of, do I agree with it or not? So when the AI says no one will be thinking about Hannibal Barca, I look at that and I say, it's right. Yeah, no one is going to be thinking about Hannibal. That's a good advice. I agree with that. And again, even though I would love to have beta readers, they may not be knowledgeable about my genre. They may not be knowledgeable about my writing process. They may not be very good at writing. They may not be very good at editing. They may not know this period in history that I'm writing about. So even if I could have that, where if in a perfect world I had a beta reader who could give me, a human beta reader who could give me instant analysis of my book, they may not be suited to give me advice on my book because they may not know my genre. Whereas the AI does. I tell the AI, my name is Sean Holt, I'm working on the next Trevor Knight book. The AI immediately reads every single one of my books, analyzes every single one of my books, and it knows what I'm going for. A beta reader would not know that. So, not only is the AI a really powerful search engine, just like Google, but on steroids, it's also a really powerful, well-informed beta reader. So no, first off, I don't think it like completely takes the place of beta readers. If I could get beta readers for my books, I would absolutely love to do that. But if I could get instant analysis of my chapters and figure things out and fix them on the night I write them and do several rounds of revisions in one night, working on the chapter, fixing the flaws, getting it better. And these are all things I agree with. Like, yeah, I don't need to have this scene about whatever. I don't need to have this line about whatever. I agree with the AI's input. If I could fix all those things in one night, why not? It's going to make my book better. Yeah, I am getting assistance from the AI, but how is that really different than getting assistance from a Google search or from a beta reader? So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to say. So, basically, just to sum it up, is that I don't want to use this AI to replace my work in terms of things that I feel are my responsibility. So, it's my job to actually write the chapter. I don't want AI to do that for me, even though it could. I could tell the AI, analyze all my previous Trevor Knight books. This is what I want the next chapter to be about. Write the next chapter in my style. The AI would do that. Or I could tell the AI, write this chapter with my style, my writing style, but also give it some like flair of J.R.R. Tolkien or Brandon Sanderson or Stephen King or whatever. Use some of those writers' elements in my chapter, like write it as if I'm drawing from their influence. The AI would do that in an instant. That is stuff I think is like, no, that is pushing it too far. So that's kind of my limit. That's my red line. I don't really want the AI to do it for me, but if there's a little line every now and then that I think is too good to ignore, like the thing about the harvest or the thing about the leash, I don't really feel guilty using that because, just like I said, there's a line in Ottoman Destiny where the beta reader said the line about how Kate says, I believe your reasons are too complex for me to understand in a short conversation. I love that line. I did not come up with that. Do I feel guilty putting that in a book by Sean Holt, having a line I did not think of? That line was from someone else. I don't mind that. I don't think that's cheating. It's just a line that someone else came up with and I used. But I would not use someone writing an entire chapter for me. That is my job. Even if they write it really well, I wouldn't want to use that. If someone did that, I would say like, okay, I really like this. I'd like to work with you, but we should co-write this book. I kind of think if someone were to do that with AI, to just tell the AI, write a book for me, you should disclose that. You should say this book is written with AI. But if I just use it as a tool to assist, I don't think it doesn't make it a Sean Holt book, just like using the line from the beta reader doesn't make Ottoman Destiny into a non-Sean Holt book just because I used one line from someone that was suggested to me. It's still my book. Oh, so I guess there's just one more thing to talk about, and that's exactly how should I, if I do, like disclose any kind of thing. Like I mentioned how in Ottoman Destiny, I had the line cover and interior designed fully without the use of AI by Sean Holt. Well, now should I not have that? Because I mean, I am using AI to an extent. So what do I say? Do I say AI, or like I used AI to assist with outlining and development of this book? But something I mentioned this to the bookstore owner. I call him the owner. Should I disclose this? How should I disclose it? What should I say? And he kind of said like, I wouldn't disclose it at all, because he thought if I say that I use AI at all, people will think the entire thing is written by AI, so they won't be interested in it. And while I do agree with that to an extent, I think people will be like that. If they hear I use AI in any way, they'll just immediately be, oh, I'm out, you're cheating. This isn't a real book, it's written by AI. You're cheating, you're a fraudster, you're taking the easy way. I'm not going to read AI slop. Screw you, you're not a real writer, whatever. People are absolutely going to have that opinion. But I would rather be open and honest about this and kind of say, like, I'm torn on, is this pushing a limit? Is this crossing a limit? And kind of my idea is that I'm not responsible for your limits. Like if you think you're not going to tolerate any use of AI in any way, that's your opinion. If you don't want to have anything to do with that, that's your right. I'm not going to try to control that. And I'm not going to try to deceive you into thinking this book is entirely my own product. There's no use of AI. There's no use of developmental AI. Even if I use it for some kind of reason or whatever, I'm not going to want to lie about it or conceal it just to try to allow you to read my book. I would rather people just think, oh, you used AI in any way, I'm going to refuse to read it. That's other people's choice, you know? I don't control that. I don't want to control that. I don't want to manipulate or deceive people. I would rather just be honest and say, yeah, I used AI for these things. I used it for, I asked it, how should I do this chapter? I asked it, what would the weather be like? I asked it, whatever, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this chapter? I asked it, what planets or what would the sky look like at this time? I asked it, whatever. I used this line about the harvest thing. That was a line from AI. Or the thing about the leash and loosening the leash, that's a line from AI. Something I thought of doing the other day is I actually thought of making a list of everything that was actually from AI. I used AI to tell the time of day for this chapter. Or when Trevor looks up into the sky and sees Saturn, that was a suggestion from AI because AI said the Saturn would be out on this night. Or the line about the harvest thing, that line was from AI. Or the leash line, that was from AI. I thought potentially I could have a record in the book of every single little thing that was suggested to me by AI. But my dad was like, oh no, that'd be too long or whatever. That'd be confusing. Or people would think, oh, the entire book is thought of by AI. But then kind of something I thought about that specifically is, well, like I say, what's the difference between asking AI what would the temperature be versus Googling it? I wouldn't put a disclosure sheet in the book about, oh, I Googled this, I Googled that, I Googled this, I Googled that. This little bit of research information I got from Google, this bit of information I got from Wikipedia, this was 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 Google, this was Google. I do that all the time. That's just part of research. So why should I really say, oh, this line was AI, this line was AI, this line I got help from AI, whatever. It'd just be exhaustive. There's no reason to do that. So I don't know exactly what I'll say for like the copyright page. I would kind of like to say something along the lines of I used AI as a tool to assist in outlining and character development or something like that. But of course, then the danger is people will just say, oh, the entire thing is AI. But I would rather disclose too much and people say like, oh, you're using AI, I'm not going to read you, rather than trying to like keep it a secret. Like obviously doing this video, I'm not trying to keep it a secret. I'm telling you guys openly, I used AI for this, I used AI for this. This line was thought of by AI. This issue was spotted by AI. I don't really think that's worth keeping a secret. And I would rather you guys think, oh, you're not a real writer, rather than to find out later like, oh my God, Sean Holt said he wasn't using AI and then we found out he really was. I'd rather just tell you guys, yeah, I think this is a very powerful tool. I think it's worth using this tool. I think it's a real handy tool. I really love that I could get instant feedback on each chapter I write, pointing out the strengths and weaknesses. I like the way this tool makes it easier for me, where I could just ask it, what time was it when I last left off? What time of night was it? What time would the next scene take place in? Just on and on it goes. So I think, again, this is just a real powerful tool, and it's a beta reader that I have that basically exists at my beck and call, where I could ask, evaluate this chapter I wrote, and it does so instantaneously, and it spots flaws, and if I agree with the flaws, I want to fix those. I don't want to have those flaws in my book just because like, oh, that shows the human effort involved or whatever. I want to know what's wrong with my book. I want to know this scene or this line is dreadfully boring. This line doesn't make sense. No one would be thinking about Hannibal in this scene. I want to know those things. Yes, I would love if a human was here to tell me, Sean, why are you doing this? You know, or whatever. Or for a human to say, hey, Sean, here's a great line. What if you use this line? I'd love that. I'd use that. And that's basically what AI is. It's a tool that is right there at my fingertips to do those things for me. So yes, I would love to have that be a human doing it, because it's the whole human connection and all that. But at the end of the day, is my book better off because of this? I think so, because just like the idea, if I was to write the book myself, for instance, for the scene where Trevor Knight shows up, it was supposed to be at 8 p.m., but you know, for myself, I forgot what time it was. I might have had it be a completely different time than the previous chapters or whatever. So I could have made a mistake there, but then I would have also not known, like, is the moon out at 8 p.m. or what stars are visible, what planets are visible? I'd have no idea, but the AI tells me Saturn is visible, it's to the southwest. Jupiter and Venus are not visible. That's a great little piece of world building, and it's accurate. And I like that. I like being able to use that. Unless I had an astronomer accessible to me who could tell me like, hey, Sean, do you know that Saturn was visible from Baghdad at this time at 8 p.m.? That'd be great. Thank you, astronomer friend. I don't have an astronomer friend though. So why not use this tool that is available to me? Since I kind of want to mention it, since I mentioned oh God, where is it? Keeping Creed. Oh, right here. Gosh, why didn't I see that? It's the most obvious book there. For this book, Keeping Creed, one of my, in fact, this is the first Samuel Creed book. I had a major goof in this book where there's scenes or there's letters that Samuel Creed writes back to his home, to his family. Those letters in this book, like the first letter is written at like 2003, and then the second letter is written like 2005. The next letter, the third letter, is written like 2004, and then the next letter is written 2003, and then the next letter is written 2005. Do you see the problem here? I completely bungled when those letters are written. I completely messed up the chronology of it just because I forgot what time is this? What year is this taking place? So yeah, if you looked at this book and I have not corrected this yet, this is an error in the book. where the letters, the chronology is all mixed up. It jumps from 2003 to 2005 to 2004 to 2005 to 2004 or whatever, because I just did not spot that. But if I could post in AI, when is each letter that Samuel Creed writes to his family, when does he send those? The AI would immediately read through it and it would immediately flag this letter set in 2003, this letter set in 2005, this letter set in 2004, this letter set in 2003, this letter set in 2005. And then I'd clearly see, oops, I messed up. But because I did not have that for this book, and also just my own error that I didn't, double check this. I'm a goof at that. I'm not very good at numbers. It's a mistake. And I would have liked to be able to catch that. And if I could have used AI, I might have caught that. So you could say like, yeah, would you rather have this book have that continuity error? Or would you rather I have been able to fix it? I mean, yes, ideally, I should have caught that myself. I entirely grant that. But I struggle with that. And also, I'm focused on trying to fix the entire book. I can't really catch all these small details. It is just me working on this. I don't have a team of editors and beta readers on my side helping me with this. This is all on me. So if I could get some help at my disposal, and computer program who can do a massive Google search on steroids, and to be a beta reader who's available for me 24/7 and can instantly read and process all of my books I've ever written and published, why not take advantage of that tool? That's a massively powerful tool. So just to kind of conclude here, I understand people have concerns about this. When you mention AI, people freak out because it's like, oh my God, you're using AI. But kind of what I realized is AI is nothing more than a tool. It's a computer program. It's a Google search on steroids. And in the case of writers, it's a beta reader on steroids. Yes, it can be used for kind of illicit purposes. Like if I was just to write or just to tell the AI, write a fantasy book for me in the style of J.R.R. Tolkien, Brandon Sanderson, Stephen King, and I don't even know who else, William Shakespeare. Write a fantasy book in all of those guys' styles, as if they were co-writing the book together. And I want it to have a strong female protagonist. I want her to be a diverse LGBT friendly character. I want to have themes about her mother was lost to her for whatever reason. I want to have a theme about this religious theocracy, and I want to have 23 uses of the word pigeon in the book. And the AI would write all of that instantaneously. It'd all be there for you. And so then someone could just publish it. That is what I think people are afraid people are doing with AI. But instead, for myself, this is what I think AI can do, is it could tell me what did the sky look like on June 13th from Baghdad at 8 p.m. And it tells me it's 90 to 95 degrees. The sky is indigo blue and violet, and it's a little bit dusty because there's this wind coming from the northwest, and Venus and Jupiter are not visible, but Saturn is, and it's located to the southwest. That is amazing. That is an amazing tool to have at your disposal, rather than just having to Google all these things, or to go to a library and look up an astronomy book and calculate where all the stars and planets were visible from Baghdad at this time on this year. So I think it's just an incredible tool. So yeah, there are people who are concerned about it. It's a new thing, so people are concerned about it, that, oh, this is just easy, you're using a computer to do all the work for you. But I think this is just the way we're heading, and we can use this for so many things, a tool for so many things, and it's just the way it is. And once again, it's just a computer. That's all it is. So how is it really different having AI look for errors in my book versus having spell checker do it. The only thing is that AI is much more powerful. It's much more thorough. It knows my writing style. It knows my genre. It knows everything I've written. It knows what I'm writing about. It knows everything about Iraq. It knows everything about Iran. It knows everything about Islamic State. It knows everything about the positions of the stars and the planets on June 13th as visible from the Baghdad sky at 8 p.m. That is what AI can do. That is amazing. So why not use that technology, that tool that is available to us? I think that is quite awesome. If I could have my own personal astronomer and my own personal beta reader who is available 24/7, who knows every word I've ever written, and they could give me instant feedback and everything, and they know everything about all these things, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. I'd love to have humans do that instead of a computer. But those people aren't here for me. There's no astronomers in this room to help me. There's no beta readers in this room to help me. But the AI is there. It's right there. So why not use it? And yes, I know some people are going to respond just thinking if there's AI, they're out and I'm not a real writer. I'm a phony. I'm taking the easy way out. It's not a real book. It's not my book. It's the AI's book. People are going to believe that. I think that's fine. I can't control them. I may not be able to change their mind. They may not ever buy my books. They may not ever read my books. They may think I'm a charlatan, whatever. I can't control that. All I can do is control myself and be honest with myself and be honest with you guys and say, yes, I think this is a powerful tool we have at our disposal and I want to use it. I want to take advantage of it. I was nervous about it. I was reluctant about the ethics of this because I believe in human creativity for things. Like, I don't want to just have a painting done by AI. I want to see something that someone spent years on painting and honing their craft. I respect that. I don't want to just ask a computer to write me or to draw me a painting done in the style of Rembrandt about this object or whatever. I want an artist to do that. I want to value their work. But at the same time, I don't want to spend hours looking up the astronomy of Baghdad at 8 p.m. on this certain day when I could just find out all that information at the snap of my fingers in an instant by asking AI. That's such a powerful tool, so why not use it? If you think, oh, I should have to work hard at it, then you should also think any kind of Google search is wrong, any kind of spell check is wrong, any kind of using the internet or the computer is wrong. You should have to go to the library and do that. So anyway, I think I've covered everything pretty well in this video. Hopefully you guys have liked it. Again, I filmed this entire video a few days ago and I was just way too talkative. And if you think like, well, you've been talkative in this video, well, you should have seen my last video. I was much worse than this. I was much more eloquent in this video. I was much more to the point in this video. Whereas with the other video, I was just rambling on and on and on and on. Yes, you may think I did it in this video as well, but not as bad as the previous video. So I think it's much better that I refilmed this entire video. So anyway, that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching. What do you think? What are your thoughts on AI? I'm nervous because I'm so scared everyone's just going to be like, you're using AI, you're not a real writer and all this stuff. Yeah, I'm nervous about that, but it's such a powerful tool. I want to use this. It's, yeah, just like I say, it's so useful, I think. It's such a powerful tool. It's a Google search on steroids. It's a beta reader who's available for me 24/7, who knows everything about what I've written, who knows what I'm writing, who knows what I wrote yesterday, who knows what I wrote today. It's such a powerful tool, so I want to take advantage of it. But I don't want to use it in a way I think is unethical, which to me would be telling the AI to just write the chapter for me or to fix this chapter for me. I want to fix it myself. I want to write the next chapter myself. But if the AI can say, hey, this is a weak point, or what about this line about the harvest thing? I'll use that. Those are my limits. You may have different limits. You may think any use of AI is bad, you're not going to tolerate it. That's your opinion. I can't control what you think, and I don't really want to either. I just want to be honest and upfront. I don't want, like, years later for something to come out saying, oh my God, Sean Holt said he wasn't using AI, but he really was. So right here is evidence A that I'm being upfront and honest about what I'm doing, about how I am using this tool, what I am using it for, and all of that. So I would rather be honest and people just say, nope, I'm out, rather than trying to deceive people and pull wool over people's eyes and make people think it's entirely my own when I am using AI for these reasons. So anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't be too mean to me. Thank you guys. Bye. Oh, and just real quickly, the shirt I'm wearing is Disciple, who is my favorite band. So yeah, Disciple, my favorite band in the world.
2, 3, 4.